love my mom. She was a very caring and loving person. She was always there when we needed her. And one of her favorite things to do was go yard selling. So every Saturday morning she would call and make sure that I went up there to pick her up. And I love my mom.
Okay, I'd like to thank my mom on Mother's Day. She's a special lady to me, and I loved her so much, and we've done a lot together, and I miss her a lot because she's not here anymore. But we had a lot of love in our family. She taught me a lot of love, to love one another and other people, and I just want to say I love her a lot.
I would like to say on this Mother's Day that I have one of the best mothers that ever a daughter could have. She's always been there for me, and when I'm close to her, I just have this sense of calm and serenity and knowing that everything's going to be okay because my mama's around. And she always told me that one day I'd be a mother, and when I was, the first time it was very scary, but she was always there to guide me through it and everything. My mom is still around, and I'm so glad that she is because she brings sunshine to my life. And I want to say that I love her very much on this Mother's Day, but every day I love my mom better every single day. And I love my children, and I am proud to be a mother.
As far back as I can remember, my mama has always been a protector. She's a very passive person. She's had a very hard life. But the one thing that I have learned from her is that no matter how rough it gets, there's always good that comes out of it. I've seen her go through things in life, in her personal life, that she shouldn't have to go through as a child, and unable to help her, which was a helpless feeling. But she always stayed positive. She always said, you know, God will work it out somehow, and He always did. And she's still the same way today. I mean, you could tell her the world was coming to an end, and you knew it for sure. She wouldn't tell nobody because that's how loyal she is. So, and then she helped me with my own kids. If it hadn't been for her, I couldn't have went to school. I wouldn't have had college. I wouldn't have, you know, I had a lot because she picked the kids up and she did a lot of stuff for me. Even the time Jonathan got stuck in a tree. But she's a pretty amazing woman. She's done well by it. Happy Mother's Day. Thank you for being there at my worst and being there at my best. I'll always love you.
Her daddy went away to work in a logging camp and never came back, so my grandmother was an older woman when she had her, so she did not have only a third grade education, because when she was in the third grade she was talking so much that the teacher tied her tongue to a chair, and my grandmother never ever send her back to school, so she had only a third grade education. Well, she married my dad and got in the church when she was 20, and at the age of 40 my dad left her, and I was 11 years old. She was no education, did not drive, lived in a small town, but she kept going to church, and she was faithful to go to church, and she washed and ironed for people to make a living for me and her. And we would be at church and it would be raining outside, but she never was one to ask for anything, and she would say to me, "Now, Ruth Ann, if someone asks us to give us a ride home, we'll take it, but if they don't, we'll wait till the rain stops and then we'll walk." We walked everywhere we went. She didn't have a car. But she was faithful in her tithing. She was faithful to the church. I never, ever heard my mother talk about the man of God. She never talked about the preacher or anybody in his family. I was raised that way. She just didn't say anything bad about the preacher ever. And so I took care of my mama when I was a teenager and as I got older. And I would tell her, Mama, you won't never go to a nursing home. You'll come and live with me. So she lived to be almost 88 years old. Still went to church on a Sunday night. She was almost 88, went to church that Sunday night, went home, tossed and turned in the bed, hurting in her chest, and went to the doctor the next day. She had had a heart attack. He put her in the hospital, and she lived 3 more days and died suddenly on Thursday morning. She died on the 7th day of the month. Her check would come in on the 3rd, so I thinking she didn't have time to pay her tithes, so I called the pastor's wife. I said, did my mother pay her tithes? Because I was going to pay it for her. She said, yes, ma'am, your mother paid her tithes. And she only had like 4 days from the time she got her check till she died. Said, your mama paid her tithes, and so the day it would come in, she would call my husband and say, come and get this money, it's yours, not mine, and I don't want it. But she was a faithful little lady that served the Lord and taught me the ways of God and how to serve the Lord, and I have taught my children the same way. And I'm looking forward to one day when I get to heaven to stroll all over heaven with my mother.
She is sweet. She was a good mom. She loved me.
Mama always got up early, and she never went to bed till late. Yet I never heard her complaining about a family of 8. There were times she should have been sleeping, yet late in the midnight hour, she'd get down on her knees and you could hear her say, Lord, fill them with your power. Mama liked to burn the midnight oil down on her knees in prayer. If you ask her why she did it, she said she did it 'cause she cared. Mama knew that Jesus was waiting when she knelt by her rocking chair. Oh, I'm glad my mama was willing to burn the midnight oil in prayer. Now mama's gone to be with Jesus. I've got a family of my own. Yet whenever the clock strikes midnight, you will find me all alone. That's when I start to call upon Jesus for his wisdom and his power. 'Cause it seems that he loves to hear a daddy's prayer, even in the midnight hour. Mama liked to burn the midnight oil down on her knees in prayer. If you ask her why she did it, she said she did it 'cause she cared. Mama knew that Jesus was waiting when she knelt in her rocking chair. Oh, I'm glad my mama was willing to burn the midnight oil in prayer. Years from now, when my grown little boy has a family of his own, will he kneel down and pray when the hour is late and pass the legacy on? Mama liked to burn